Good evening. Welcome to our December 18th, 2023 board meeting. Since 6:30, the board has been in closed session for the discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act for purposes of approval by the body of the minutes. The appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district. Litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular district has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives. It will take a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
A motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Kush.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Wanke.
Aye.
Kosminski.
Aye.
McMillan.
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye. We are in open session. Once again, welcome to our December 18th board meeting. Our mission is to educate students to be self-directed learners, collaborative workers, complex thinkers, quality producers, and community contributors. I will take a motion to allow board member Melissa Kelly Black to join us by phone.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Kosminski.
Aye.
Kush.
Aye.
Wanke.
Aye.
McMillan.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye.
Hello?
Hi, Melissa. You're in open session with the board.
Thank you.
Okay, please join the board and Riverwoods Elementary for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Step up there, yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Can you guys move down a little bit? Move your way just a little bit.
Good evening. We are here tonight from Riverwoods Elementary School. I am Gina Baumgartner, the proud principal at Riverwoods, and I have 14 Redbirds representing Riverwoods tonight. They're going to introduce themselves with their name and then their grade.
Brady Kinder. Alex third. Avery third. Kayla third. Mila first. Isabella third. Lincoln first. Lucas first. Franco third. Levi fifth. Aline first. Zoya fourth. Patrick fourth. Adeline fifth.
I pledge allegiance
You guys stay right there. Thank you, Redbirds. We're going to have you stay right here for a minute. Mr. Maester is going to take a picture. As soon as Mr. Maester is finished with his picture, if we have family or friends who would like to get a good picture, you're welcome to come up into the open area to go ahead and take your picture. Everyone look at me. Riverwoods Pledge kids can look at Mr. Maester. You're welcome to come up closer for a picture also. Great, thank you so much for being here tonight, we appreciate it. sisters.
Next, we're going to have item 3.04, our student ambassador reports. You can choose who's going to go first.
Hi, just to reintroduce myself, I am Olivia Walters. I'm a senior at Naperville Central, and I chose to be a senior ambassador because I really wanted this opportunity to speak for my peers and also to get an insight of what it's like in a business meeting. So this week marks the start of the first semester finals of the 2023 to 2024 school year, starting on Wednesday through Friday. And winter athletics and activities are in full swing, with girls and boys basketball both starting with exciting seasons. Wrestling hosted the boys crosstown on Thursday, December 14th, where we dominated our rivals 46-6. Yeah. The Winter Festival concert was an enormous success and very entertaining that engaged an audience of all ages on December 8th, while also bringing winter spirit. Last week, our NCHS incubator class ventured into an exciting opportunity to pitch their business products to different professionals. This is one of the many exciting opportunities that is offered at NCHS, with the mock trial also occurring recently. And even though we lost, it was a great experience for all students who participated. With first semester finals upcoming, this marks the beginning of the preparing for the second semester. On December 8th, our schedules were announced, and I'm personally very excited about my schedule as I'm taking advanced chemistry, which is a class that I've been very excited to take since sophomore year. I'm looking to major in forensic sciences, so I'm super excited for the experience that this will grant me. Post-secondary education decisions are coming up, and for seniors looking to further their education after graduation, I know I'm very excited for this as I'm receiving college decisions and cannot wait for what is to come. And this is my last Board of Education meeting that I will be reporting at. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and as always, go Red Hawks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nina Mantell, and I'm pleased to be one of Naperville North's Board of Education student ambassadors. So since this is my first meeting that I'm attending, I'm going to start with a short introduction. I'm a junior. When it comes to courses, I enjoy more math and science-based classes, including AP Chemistry, which is one of my favorite courses that I'm taking right now. Some activities that I do inside and outside of Naperville North are cross-country and track, Model UN, choir, student government, and volunteering through various organizations. I was interested in serving this role as student ambassador just because I think it's very important to have student voice in meetings like these, since a lot of the decisions made here impact the students. And I hope to learn more about gaining an accurate representation of the student body as a whole, rather than just my own representation or views. And so now enough about me. I'm going to talk about a monthly update for Naperville North. So starting with our athletics, our boys basketball team is currently 7-4 and just recently won our crosstown game against Central. Our girls basketball team is also having a successful season, recently winning their varsity Warhawk tournament in the end of November. Our girls gymnastics team also won their crosstown meet earlier in the month. We had our boys swim and dive, girls and boys wrestling, and girls and boys bowling teams also underway to end the rest of our winter sports updates. And then on December 6th, we had our signing day for 6 student athletes that are committing to play a sport in college, which is always very exciting to see. And then in terms of our arts programs, on December 5th, we had our winter band concert. December 12th, we had our winter choral concert. December 13th, we had our winter orchestra concert. And then earlier in December, we had our Charlotte's Web children's play, which was very exciting to see the little elementary school kids come and watch Charlotte's Web. Some other activities were the winter assembly that we had in November right before Thanksgiving break to showcase some student talents such as singing, dancing, and instrumental playing. And we also had 6 students awarded the Naperville Youth Service Awards on November 29th at City Hall. And then for some school-wide events, we inducted over 100 students into National Honor Society in November. We had a panorama survey with over 75% of students completing it so far to capture our student voice on Naperville North's environment. We had Course Awareness Week in November to prepare students for choosing courses next year through teacher and counselor input. For our finals, we started with our Cocoa and Cram session on December 13th for students to gain insight from teachers on how to study for their finals and concepts to review. And finally, Success, which is a nonprofit dedicated to empowering students who identify as African American or Black, hosted the Celebrate, Educate, Empower event series at North, where many people attended a variety of sessions which celebrated their identity. Thank you. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your year.
Thanks for your reports. Good luck with your finals. Enjoy break once it's here. we're going to move on to item 4.01, good news.
Great. I have a couple good news stories to share with the community. I'm proud to share the story of Naperville North student Jackson Turan, who noticed a man choking during a shift at work at a Downers Grove restaurant. He used the Heimlich maneuver that he learned in school to save the man's life. Jackson's efforts have been featured on the news and were recently recognized by the City of Naperville's mayor and fire chief. Great job, Jackson. And a big congratulations to Iris Zhang, Steeple Run 5th grader, for creating the chosen artwork for the 2023 Naperville 203 holiday card. Congratulations to Iris, and thank you to all our talented students who submitted their work. Congratulations. That's good news.
Okay, next we're going to move to our public hearing for the truth in taxation. So I will call to order this public hearing regarding the tax levy determination in accordance with the truth in taxation law. The process will be as follows. We'll begin with comments by the administration, and then following the administration's comments will be public comment. If you wish to speak specifically to the tax levy determination, you'll need to sign up for that. This public comment is only for this topic right now. After public comment, the Board of Education will be invited to provide comment, and then at that time, the hearing will be closed. So I'll start with Superintendent Bridges to begin.
Great. Annually, the district sets a tax levy, which provides the district with over 85% of its total revenue. The setting of the annual tax levy is governed by the Truth in Taxation Law, School Code, Property Tax Code, and Property Tax Extension Limits Law, or PTEL. Each of those specific laws has specific requirements that must be followed. Please note that because the 2023 estimated tax levy represents more than 5% increase over last year's extension, we are required to hold this public hearing on the tax levy. I'll now ask our Chief Financial Officer, Chief School Business Official Mike Francis, to make comments in regard to the 2023 tax levy.
Thank you. We have a brief presentation tonight for the hearing. At the November 13th meeting, the Board of Education was first presented the 2023 tax levy. The following day, we discussed the levy with the Citizen Finance Advisor Committee. They supported the recommendation with the provision of developing a use of fund balance plan, which we will present to the board later this fiscal year. There have been no changes to the levy as first presented, so I will summarize some of the key points that were presented last month, and later this evening, we will be asking for formal adoption. Property taxes are the largest piece of revenue for most school districts throughout the state of Illinois, and an even larger share of revenue for districts in our area. Over 85% of the district's budget comes from local property taxes. The tax levy we're asking for approval tonight is the district's formal request for taxes that is required in the first step in the process. County clerks will calculate tax rates normally around mid-March for bills to be distributed by county treasurers, typically at the beginning of May. There are a number of laws and regulations that govern the tax levy process. All districts must comply with school and property tax codes, and districts in tax cap counties must also comply with the property tax extension limitation law. Both DuPage and Will counties, and therefore District 203, have been under this law since its inception in 1991, which limits the overall growth in taxes to existing taxpayers in total to the lesser of the calendar year consumer price index, or 5%. Finally, all taxing agencies must comply with the Truth in Taxation Law, which requires a public hearing if their levy request is greater than a 5% increase over last year's extension. Our request tonight requires us to hold this hearing. There are three main variables that are used in the calculation of the annual tax levy. Of the three, only the consumer price index is known at this time. For the 2023 levy, all tax cap districts are limited to the CPI for the 2022 calendar year, capped at 5%. Even though the actual CPI for 2022 was 6.5%, the tax cap law limits the increase to 5%. The other two variables, new construction and EAV, are not finalized at this time, so we must make estimates on those numbers. Those numbers are generally finalized and released in March. Finally, we are also subject to inflation as our costs continue to rise. Our labor agreements and contracts are typically tied to a major extent by the annual change in the Consumer Price Index. We work best to align our anticipated costs within the constraints of the tax cap. There's an important point to understand about what the tax cap law does and does not do. While the district's overall maximum increase from existing taxpayers is limited to the CPI up to the 5% cap on an annual basis, individual property tax bills may differ. Different assessment changes and whether an individual property assessment change is less than or greater than the average change district-wide can cause a single tax bill to be less than or greater than the average increase. The district's equalized assessed value, or EAV, has changed by two factors. The first is the existing EAV percent change. This change is what we are estimating an average assessment of a property to change by. There are two major factors in this year's number. First, it is a quadrennial reassessment year. Second, the homeowner's exemption was increased in both DuPage and Will County this year from $6,000 to $8,000. Based on preliminary numbers from our township assessors, this year's estimate at 5.5% is the highest it's been in many years. This will result in a slightly lower tax rate on upcoming bills. The second overall change to EAV is the amount of new EAV, or what we typically call new construction. We saw a few years of a dip after 2018, but that amount this year is estimated to be at a similar level to last year. The final value for new construction will not be known until the spring. Since we don't yet know that final number, we typically increase the levy slightly to cover potential higher values in this area. Tonight's levy would cover up to approximately $50 million of new EAV growth. This graph shows the overall tax rate of the district back to 2017. Tax rate has been very stable between 4.88 and 5.0, with an estimate this year of 4.93%. This is the sheet we use to determine the amount of the levy by fund and in total based on the assumptions of CPI, EAV, and new property as previously discussed. On the left is the actual amount of taxes extended to the district by the county clerks last year. The total in the middle of the page is the estimated amount we are likely to receive based on the previously shown assumptions. We typically levy for an amount higher than this as we do not yet know the final values for EAV and new property, getting us to the values on the right and what we'll be asking for approval for later this evening. In summary, there are a few points. As we anticipate we'll be doing in March, an abating debt service, the average tax bill would increase by the CPI or 5%. If the board chose not to abate the debt service levy, the average bill would go up by 5.5%. And again, the board may consider additional abatements before taxes are extended. Finally, as part of a recent Public Act of 102-0895, we are to disclose our fund balances at both the budget and tax levy hearings each year. These are our balances through October of 2023.
Okay, and then before we turn it over for public comment, I'll just remind the board, as Mike said, this is a discussion with action items scheduled for later on, so you'll have an opportunity to ask additional questions. Also, just as a reminder, this was first presented to the board as an estimate at the November 13 meeting, a discussion item without action on December 4th, and is coming to you again for discussion on recommendation for action this evening.
I don't have any slips for public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board on this matter only right now? Okay. There is some public comment loaded in board docs that we received by email. Any Board of Education comments at this time? Okay, at this point, I will ask for a motion to close the hearing on the truth in taxation.
So moved.
Okay, a motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Gerke,
Aye.
Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Kosminski,
Aye.
Oh, Melissa?
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
I had you on mute, so I wasn't doing that. Just to clarify, are we voting on the levy or are we gonna discuss it later?
We're gonna discuss it later on with action.
The board's action right now is to adjourn the public hearing, and that is an agenda
Okay,
item
thank
for
you.
further discussion later.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Mrs. Patton.
Cush.
Aye.
Guanke.
Aye.
McMillan.
Aye.
Kelly Black.
Aye.
The motion passes. The hearing is closed. Item 6, public comment. One second, sorry. Okay, the Board of Education welcomes comments from the public at its hearings. Citizens who wish to address the Board of Education should identify themselves by name. Comments by individual shall be limited to 3 minutes. If the individual is representing multiple individuals or a group, they shall be allowed to speak for 5 minutes. At this point, I would like to welcome Thomas Macri, and the next speaker will be Elizabeth Evers.
$1,800 minutes. Please remember that number. I'm Thomas Macri, Spanish teacher at Madison Junior High School and a 15-year employee of the Naperville Community Unit School District. This evening, I'm here to represent the District 203 teachers of the Junior High School World and Classical Language program. In addition to our department, I also wish to include the voices of other members of our educational community who will be impacted by the proposed modifications to the junior high school curriculum that were presented at the board meeting of December 4th, 2023, and are to be voted on this evening. During this year, the school board has offered District 203 employees the opportunity to participate in listening sessions. These sessions are in place to give a voice to the professional educators and other valued employees of this district by way of presenting specific details for the concerns raised through the Panorama Survey. For these sessions, the results of 3 key areas were identified for discussion: time and resources, recognition and value, and lastly, ownership and input. Of these areas, a perspective on ownership and input, along with recognition and value, could have a profound impact on the decisions you will make later this evening when voting on the proposed modifications to the curriculum in our district. On December 4th, proposals were put forth for modifications to the exploratory curriculum and expansion of the EL program. If the information was correctly interpreted, there will be the addition of a computer science class at the 6th grade level, a Code Explorers class at the 7th grade level, and a reduction of the World and Classical Languages offering to a 1-year course limited to 8th grade students, among other changes. The EL program will now be resident in all 203 schools. The reason presented for the changes in the exploratory program is district alignment with the state mandated post-secondary career readiness curriculum inclusion. Also included was the statement that this change offered more options for 7th grade students. Upon closer examination, it seems that our district is in non-compliance with the latest audit conducted by ISBE. We are compelled to align with these standards, and the proposed changes are the district's response. While it can be understood that these changes are necessary, the manner in which they are to be effected seemed to overlook a critical piece of information for the World and Classical Languages program: 1,800 minutes. This number represents the incredible disparity in the amount of classroom instructional time when comparing a junior high school day to a high school day. From a different perspective, this number is the same as 6 weeks. 6 weeks will be the amount of time for which a junior high school student will have to compensate when enrolling in the 1-year 8th grade World and Classical Language course. 6 weeks of instructional time are lost when moving to the 1-year World and Classical Languages program in 8th grade. This quantity, of course, is actually understated. It does not include additional time that is allocated to junior high school tasks that include mandatory testing, surveys, class selections, socio-emotional learning instruction, plus other educational junior high school experiences such as field trips and tours of the high school facilities, to name a few. Here's where we can now discuss the listening session focus areas. One talking point was, please share an example of a time when you felt your voice was heard by district leaders. The junior high school World and Classical Languages teachers want you to hear our voices. This is the time. While there are plans being made to transition the World and Classical Language program with competent leadership, we ask that you do not overlook the combined 130 plus years of experience the junior high school and World and Classical Language teachers have to offer. Do not overlook the opportunity to create a true exploratory experience by limiting the World and Classical Languages to only 8th grade. At minimum, devise a plan to offer a rotation for 7th grade students to provide a tangible experience of learning in a world language environment. Students will then be making informed decisions about their course selections for their futures. Offer high school credit for this monumental achievement. Please do not allow this to become a time when this is a possibility that district leadership missed an opportunity to recognize the excellent work performed by the world and classical language teachers. Please recognize that we have middle school endorsements because we embrace the sometimes tumultuous changes that affect our students. Furthermore, recognition and value often comes from us, not from the district, but when a parent lets us know that we are appreciated for making an impactful difference in our students' lives with our efforts in the classroom. Or when a word of a formal student reaches us to let us know that their experience in our World and Classical Languages program led them down to the path that has facilitated their pursuit of becoming an advocate for international law at the master's level with a major in Spanish. And finally, recognize that our final plea is summarized thus. Suspend your vote on these changes until the full course of due diligence is completed. You hold in your hands with your votes the future of not only a valuable language experience, but the futures of thousands of bilingual and polylingual members of a diverse workforce. Thank you for your time and consideration.
On behalf of the board, thank you for your comments. I would like to welcome Elizabeth Evers.
Hi, good evening. My name is Elizabeth Evers, and I'm a parent of 4 children in Naperville, District 203. I would like to first start off by thanking each of you for serving on our school board. My reason for addressing the board tonight is to provide my feedback for the proposed school year 26 calendar. Specifically, I would like for our school board to consider reverting back to having a no school day on March 17, 2026 versus the planned e-learning day for an election day. Last spring, our district chose to have its first planned e-learning day for the purpose of an election, with the plan to continue this each calendar year through 2026. In the conversations I've had with our Regional Office of Education, state senator, state representative, school board, and cabinet member, I have learned that the decision to use our schools as a polling place comes from the County Board of Election Commissioners. However, the choice of whether to close the school, hold a Teachers Institute Day, or to have an e-learning day for the purpose of an election day is a district decision. On April 4th, 2023, the day of our consolidated general election, over 16,000 students participated in an e-learning day. Out of the 22 schools in our district, only 12 were chosen as polling places. Using DuPage County as an example, where over 90% of our students reside, never has there been more options for a voter to exercise their right to vote. A voter can choose to vote early, vote by mail, vote on election day at their assigned polling place, and now they can even vote at any of the 273 polling places. Yet, of the over 1 million registered voters in DuPage and Will County, a total of 4,573 votes were placed at our schools. In fact, most of the votes were cast early or by mail-in ballot. And over the past 5 years, our spring elections have an average voter turnout of only 20%. I understand the multitude of stakeholders that are a part of the calendar process, yet I believe that as a collaborative parent, my feedback is valuable. I am respectfully asking our school board to revert to having a no school day on election day, March 17, 2026, because some of our schools could be used as polling places. And the current legislation under Public Act 98-1171 also encourages school districts to close schools or hold a Teachers Institute Day with students not in attendance for the day of the election. I'm confident that our Board of Education can find an alternative date for students to be present in the classroom in lieu of a planned e-learning day for an election day. Thank you for your time and considering my request.
On behalf of the Board of Education, thank you for your comments. I don't have any more slips at this time. Does anyone wish to address the Board of Education? As a reminder, because the questions raised in public comment address district operational matters, the board has designated our superintendent as the spokesperson for the district as our designee to respond to public comment, and he will apprise the Board of Education accordingly. This will conclude our public comment period. Item 7, monthly reports. The monthly reports have been loaded in board docs for review. Item 8, action by consent.
I was fortunate enough to be able to review bills and claims this month, and I want to thank Michelle and Mike and his team for all of the effort to answer all of my questions. I still have a few outstanding questions, but that's because I wasn't able to finish reviewing after Michelle had given me the information. So I will follow up with her on tomorrow. But most all of my questions were answered. I just have like one or two left outstanding. So with that, I will make a motion to approve warrant number 1056306 through warrant number 900000057, totaling $27,483,628.55 for the period of November 14th, 2023 to December 18th, 2023. In addition, item 8.02, item 8.03, the 11:13, 23 minutes only. So I'm going to pull the 11:4. Item 8.04, the 11:13 minutes only, pulling 12.4 minutes. 8.05, 8.06, and 8.07 as presented.
Second. A motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Gerke,
Aye.
Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Kosminski,
Aye.
Cush,
Aye.
Wanke,
Aye.
McMillan,
Aye.
Kelly Black.
Actually, I'm not quite sure what you pulled. It's hard over the phone. Are we doing the board minutes?
So Donna pulled the minutes for December 4th, both closed and open session.
So we're voting on the bills and claims, adoption of personnel report, the roofing bid, asbestos, and disposal of assets. Is that correct?
And then the open and closed session meeting minutes from November 13th.
I'd like that pulled.
Which one?
The minutes.
Open or closed?
Both.
Okay, so
Okay, I'll revise my, my motion to 8.01 as I already read. I'm not going to read all the warrant numbers again. 8.02, 8.05, 8.06, and 8.07.
Second.
a motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Gerke,
Aye.
Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Kosminski,
Aye.
Cush,
Aye.
Wanke,
Aye.
McMillan,
Aye.
Kelly Black.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes.
Okay, now I will make a motion for the open board meeting minutes for 11/13/23. I'm just gonna do them separate.
Any discussion?
No, my question on that is, in looking at them, I noticed there was a lot of information. It seemed as if, I have a question, is it taken, when they do the minutes, is it verbatim from what's said at the meeting? Or is there information added that was in presentation?
Well, it's sometimes both.
So-
But it's
so
not
the minutes.
Go ahead, Melissa.
So if things listed in the minutes won't necessarily be something that was brought up and discussed at the meeting?
No.
No.
The meeting minutes reflect a summary of the meeting itself.
Yeah, so there shouldn't be anything that wasn't discussed at the meeting or presented at the meeting in the meeting minutes, correct?
Correct, it's
Correct.
just from the meeting itself.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not quite sure that those minutes, I'm just gonna say, I know we'll vote, and everyone will vote. I would like to review it. It's hard last minute to go over that. I thought there was information presented there that was not presented at the meeting. I'm not sure it's the accurate representation of the meeting, so that's just. I would like to review it, and then I could vote if we want to put off the vote.
The minutes need to be approved within 30 days of the meeting itself. The meeting minutes were available for review Thursday afternoon.
Yes, I was in the hospital, so that was a little difficult for me, Dan. But my other understanding is that there's been, if you go back and look at the notes and go to board docs, you'll see that there's a lot of times that minutes were not approved within 30 days. There's been quite a backlog.
That's actually not true.
So if I were to go back and check, we've never extended beyond 30 days?
Not that I'm aware of.
If you'd like to abstain, you can do that too, Melissa, when we vote.
Well, I think the issue is more, okay, so I will follow up and find out if the other's accurate, because I like the facts, but yes, I presented mine, and then the board members can vote if that's what they choose to do. Or they, it's up to them.
Do you have a specific area in the minutes that you think is not?
Well, it was quite a bit of it, and then part of the problem I run into is, and I've gone over this before, as a new board member, and I think even, for the community, they can go on board docs and they can see what I get on Thursday, what we all have to review, and then as a new board member, the amount of prep and understanding and thoroughness, due diligence I have to do to understand exactly what it all means. And then, so as I pick and choose and prioritize, unfortunately, I would like to be thorough in everything. I made note of that, but to be able to have the time and go back and listen to the recording and actually be factually accurate, that's why I'm asking for a delay. I would think this is not the highest priority. I was unaware. I thought for sure there were times we voted beyond the 30-day limit.
So that's by statute that those have, okay. So yeah, we have to pass them within, well, we have to vote on them within 30 days. So it's your choice if you want to vote in favor, against, or if you want to abstain.
Okay.
So I had a motion and a second for the minutes for
11:13.
11:13 only. Can you call the roll, Mrs.
Or
Patton,
open
please?
11:13.
Or open and closed.
No.
No,
No,
just
sorry,
made the
just
motion
open.
for open.
I heard a motion and a second for open minutes from November 13th. Can you call the roll, Mrs. Patton?
Cush,
Aye.
McMillan,
Aye.
Kosminski,
Aye.
Kelly Black,
Nay.
Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Wanke,
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye. The motion passes.
Now I will make a motion for the closed session minutes from 11:13:23.
Second.
A motion and a second.
I'd like to discuss it.
Okay, go ahead.
As a new board member, I'm trying to understand if I'm going back over old documents. I have noticed that previously, when there was the closed door minutes, that there was much more detail, because certain information was redacted, but I felt that they were more transparent and that helped the community to maybe understand, that transparency and accountability for the decisions we make. Have there been any changes in practices, or is there a reason that they've changed in the amount of information provided?
First of all, I'll remind you your comments regarding transparency regarding closed meeting minutes, which was your comment. Closed meeting minutes have to be released by the board for them to be accessible by the public. The board has not released those closed meeting minutes. Second, there is not a change in practice, and closed meeting minutes are not intended to be a verbatim record of the closed session. As you are aware, those are recorded for record to be kept. So minutes are intended to be an overall summary of the agenda items that are discussed.
So are you saying that when I look back and looked at differences about when I compared previous closed door minutes to current ones, there would be no difference in the amount of information provided or how they were documented?
I'm saying that the minutes reflect a summary of the meeting and the agenda and are consistent with practice and also consistent with what's required by the law. And if you do not believe that they reflect a summary of the meeting, then you can cast your vote no.
I'm not asking my question, I'm sorry, let me rephrase this. I am not asking if they're not a reflection, that would be an opinion. What I am asking is, have there been any changes in the practices on how the minutes are presented?
No, the minutes are, that's been our practice. There's been no change.
Changed in the practice of recording and what's released to the public?
No, there's no change.
Okay, thank you.
I heard a motion and a second for the closed minutes of November 13th. Can you call the roll, Mrs. Patton?
McMillan,
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye.
Wanke.
Aye.
Kelly Black.
Nay.
Kush.
Aye.
Kuzminski.
Aye.
The motion passes. Item 9, communications.
No, no.
Nope, sorry. These minutes are killing me. Okay, the December, I need a motion.
I can't do that.
No, so I need a motion for the December 4th.
I'll make a motion to approve the open minutes for 12/4/23. Can I
Second.
do the closed minutes for 12/4/23 too, or do they have to be separate? I'll do them together. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
I'd like, so we're doing that, are we gonna discuss that beforehand?
Yeah.
I'm going to just do them both together for one vote, but you can discuss them after the second. Cool? All right.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Is there any discussion regarding the 12-4 minutes?
No, I think that I owe it to the people that I represent, that we all represent. Just my opinion and why I'm voting is the same comment that I brought up before. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, a motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Kush.
Aye.
McMillan.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Wanke.
Abstain.
Kelly Black.
Nay.
Kuzminski.
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye. The motion passes. Now, item 9, communications. 9.01, written communications have been loaded in board docs. 9.02, superintendent staff school reports. Okay. 9.03, president's report. I do not have a report this evening. 9.04, Board of Education reports. Charles?
Hello. All right. I have a slide too. So just wanted to take a moment to kind of update the group on an event that happened. Our student ambassador from Naperville North referenced it, but I'm going a little bit more detail. So on December 13th, Naperville North had the Cocoa and Cram event to support students at the school as they prepare for their finals. So the event was put together by our home and school team, and it was co-sponsored by NEF, the Boosters, Success, and Kristen and I represented the Board of Education. I wanted to give a special shout out to Sarah Gibson Hogue and the executive board of the Home and School, Naperville North Home and School, as well as to Principal Posey and the LC director, Mark Scar, and all the teachers who took the time to support our students, to help them prepare for their finals, to make sure that they were ready to do the best they possibly could. So thanks to everyone who was involved, and it's a wonderful event, and if you ever have the opportunity to attend, I would highly encourage it. It is, and I will invite Kristen to make a comment too, but I think we got a good insight as to what a Starbucks barista must feel like on a crowded morning. It was insane. The number of cups of cocoa, I don't know the exact number, but there was a lot of cocoa that was being served, so and snacks for sure. So those pictures of the carts are what they looked like at the beginning. Trust me, there was nothing left at the end. So, Kristen, anything from you?
It was so fun to see our students as they were really working to prepare for finals, and we did indeed. I think we were the most popular cart, so we did have a lot of cocoa that we served.
Yeah, it was great to see the students supporting one another, and the teachers and the staff and everyone working together to make sure everybody was prepared. So, thank you for that.
Thanks for being there. That's a long-standing event. They've done that for several years, haven't they, at North?
I think so, but I think they really hyped it up the past couple years. And we were just, every cart was popular, but we were the first that had cocoa. So we got the line first.
Thanks for being there. Any other board reports?
I have a board report.
Oh, okay. Melissa, go ahead.
I was excited because it's part of my work on the Workforce Innovation Council. The group took support like me and also the community members that represent businesses in our community, government officials, on field trips to our two high schools to visit their technical education, career and technical education classes. So we were able to visit the classes. I am happy to report that the feedback I received while taking the tours was that the community members were very impressed with what we were doing, with the programs that we had, and they really liked the enthusiasm and the passion that the teachers displayed, and they felt like that, influenced the students and the quality of the programs, like the buy-in from the students. I was also impressed to see the projects and the thoughtfulness of the students. I also got feedback from the teachers that they appreciated the opportunity to highlight their work and their students, and see, the resources in the programs that they have in their classrooms. As a board member, I especially like being able to go and visit the facilities, see the teachers, seeing how we have policies and practices, how the decisions we make really come to fruition on the front line. So I was able to observe, learn, and ask questions, and hopefully it will make me a more informed decision maker as a board member. But again, I just want to thank all our staff and students and everyone who made this opportunity available, and I am so proud of those programs and what our school is doing.
Thanks for your report, Melissa. Thanks for also representing us there at those tours. Kristen?
Just a quick report. Superintendent Bridges and I are both participating in the IASA Vision 2030 process. I'm participating on behalf of IASB and Superintendent Bridges as a part of IASA. At the end of November, you guys should have gotten a survey from IASB. Just a quick reminder to go ahead and fill out that survey. That survey is coming from the areas identified by the working groups, and we'll have our next meeting January 24th. So I don't know when it closes, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick reminder to fill out the survey.
Thank you for that. Any other board reports? Item 10, discussion without action. We do not have any items without action. Item 11, discussion with action. 11.01, the 2025-2026 calendar.
Okay, at the November 13th board meeting, administration presented a recommendation on behalf of the calendar committee for the 2025-2026 draft calendar. We recommend you approve that as presented. Dr. Knowlton leads the committee's work. Dr. Knowlton, you want to just give a brief summary of the process used to bring that recommendation forward and what's occurred since the November 13th meeting to inform the board in preparation for their decision.
Good evening. I'd be happy to. We've held our meeting, our committee meeting, reviewed the options in terms of the calendar dates and the possibilities, again, for the 25-26 school year. We had representation from all 4 associations or unions. In addition, we had district level as well as school level administrators, and we had parents, either 3 or 4 parents attended from across all levels. So we try to include early childhood all the way up to high school, including actually 21 up for connections. Between you reviewing the initial copy of it or the initial draft of it, we presented to Home and School Association. We received emails from the community, not many, and finalized it and presented it for you tonight, reflective of what we think is reasonable.
Any questions or comments from the board? Amanda?
My one question is, based off public comment, before COVID, on election day, did we just have the schools closed, or did we have, how was that managed before?
No, schools generally ran as normal, and there was concern expressed at the school site in terms of the overall operations and logistics because of the loss of facility, and then over years concerns regarding the safety and security of our facilities being open like that. So I think, I can't remember the year, sorry, you guys will remember because it was an effort initiated by this board to make e-school or e-learning an option on election day.
And just one follow-up question to that, since we have had that practice at least for one election, if not more, what has been kind of like the result for the engagement of students during those e-learning days?
yeah, I don't know if, Jane, you want to speak to that in terms of how it's structured?
Yeah, we have pretty good engagement on those days. I mean, we don't find a big drop in our attendance, and we've set them up differently at each of the levels based on developmentally appropriate for them. But what it does do for us is it keeps us to have students less interruptions to instruction. So in the spring, there are lots of interruptions due to testing and different various district or county-wide institutes. So this keeps instruction fluid, especially in the month of March. It allows us to do that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Other question? Oh, Donna?
Okay, so have we worked with the Regional Office of Education at all to see if their County Institute Day, which, is roughly, within 30 days or so of that, well, it depends on if there's a primary or if there's a consolidated election, but there's always an election either March or April, right? And so have we worked with the County Institute or the county at all to see if their Institute Day can align with the election day?
I don't know, Jane, I don't know if that's come up with CADCA or any other groups.
No, it really hasn't. I think it's because you're, in DuPage County, you're working with so many different calendars. But it could be something that we bring up at CADCA or with the ROE definitely when we go to some of our DCCD meetings.
I mean, if we're really truly trying to be less disruptive, aligning that would be, I think, a really good solution.
Sure, especially in the years.
And it would, of course, change each year, but that day, sometimes it's sometimes it's in the end of February, sometimes it's beginning of March. It changes a little bit. I mean, it's always usually a Friday, but it changes a little bit as well. And so I think with planning, they could maybe, align it with, either the consolidated or the primary.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It really is.
It is an idea worth exploring. I simply remember on an institute day, an in-person institute day, again, we have to be cognizant of safety and security of our adults or staff too. And so that would just, not to say that it couldn't be done, but if it's county-wide, we'd have to be thoughtful about facilities that are used for the professional learning as well. So
we could probably work that. I mean,
I'm just
right.
saying it
Doesn't
necessarily eliminate all of
Right.
the issue.
Right. Okay. I had a couple other questions too. So Patrick, you said that as far as feedback from the community, there was very little. And when we presented this to our home and school, which is representation of all of our schools, was there a concern that they expressed on the things that we've been discussing, or other concerns that we should be aware of? I mean, I know they've gotten past it with what you're recommending. I'm just curious as to what concerns were maybe brought forward.
No, there really weren't. We had conversations about Columbus Indigenous Americans Day, very brief. The end date being before the Memorial Day weekend, but largely there was no real concern overall. It went I thought, smoothly.
Kristen represented the board at that meeting, so I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add.
I thought that they were supportive of the calendar and very appreciative of the fact that it ended before Memorial Day.
And we go right up to the Friday before Memorial Day. So any change in the calendar would put us that one day over Memorial Day, correct?
Right, so we'd be coming back from Lake Geneva on a Tuesday.
All right. And that was a big concern to it was coming back that one day after. I mean, I know that.
It wasn't a concern. It was just an observation. Said, wow, it's kind of nice that this is ending on a Friday before going into a 3-day weekend.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Thank you.
Melissa, did you have a question or comment?
Yes.
Go
I'd
ahead.
like to, I really appreciate it. I thought Donna had some wonderful, suggestions there. I liked her county, the County Institution Day. I do know that a lot of, checking with other county and members and, the board and whoever's involved in this, I know they're willing to work with us because they do prioritize education of our students too. So I'd like to see us do a little more problem solving. I think we could find maybe a better solution for our students and for our community members and honor, the feedback we've received.
Okay, thank you. Any other, Amanda?
I just want to clarify, like, so if we were to pass this now and we were able to get the County Institute Day to align with Election Day, would there be an ability to revise the calendar later, or is this like set in stone? I'm just curious how that works.
No, we primarily do this. We're typically about a year ahead of a lot of our neighboring districts, but historically, community feedback has been we would like the calendar as soon as possible, so any scheduling that has to happen can be done around it. It technically sits as a draft calendar until we submit it into the state system, which we'll do closer to the beginning of the year. If there's to be a change in conditions and situations, we could consider recommending any changes to this. It wouldn't have to be a modified calendar until it's submitted, so.
Kristen?
Just a note that this is an item that there's several pieces of legislation sponsored on. So, like, I know that previously we had a situation where there was a law passed that Election Day itself in November became a holiday, and we changed that because of that. And that the same kind of thing could happen. I know there's legislation to keep elections out of schools entirely. So if that were to pass, then that would mean that we wouldn't have the issue anymore of, students and staff safety that we look at in terms of elections. So this is something that probably will have some flexibility based on legislative outcomes too.
Okay. You're good. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I will take a motion on 11.01, the 25-26 calendar.
So moved?
Second.
A motion and a second have been heard. Please call a roll, Mrs. Patton.
McMillan.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Wanke.
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye.
Kush.
Aye.
Kosminski.
Aye.
Kelly Black.
Are we voting to approve the calendar?
Yes.
Nay.
The motion passes. Item 11.02, the 2023 tax levy determination.
Okay, I'll repeat some of my comments from earlier this evening during the public hearing. Annually, the district sets a tax levy which provides the district with over 85% of its total revenue. The setting of the annual tax levy is governed by the Truth in Taxation Law, School Code, Property Tax Code, and the Property Tax Extension Limits Law, also known as PTEL. And each of those has specific requirements that must be followed. We have met those requirements, and we are on track in accordance with those laws for moving forward with a recommendation on the tax levy determination. Our recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the tax levy determination as has been presented. A reminder on the timeline. The estimate of the tax levy was discussed and presented and approved by the Board of Education on November 13th. December 4th, this was an action for discussion without action. And this evening, now we have this as an agenda item with our recommendation to approve it as presented. We would be required by law to file the levy with the county clerk by December 26, 2023. Mr. Francis, any additional comments that you'd like to make in regard to our recommendation?
No, nothing further.
Be happy to answer any questions. Recommend that you approve the tax levy determination as presented.
Questions or comments from the board? Charles?
Hi. So first of all, thanks for the thoroughness with which these materials are always prepared. I just wanted to make a couple of statements, questions/statements, just make sure I'm really clear. So the extension that we ask for is a little bit more than what we estimate we're eligible for, but that is because there is still some uncertainty as to the actual value of the EAV. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's the
New
levy that
construction
we're
value.
asking for,
Right.
not the extension.
Sorry.
The extension is the value of the tax bills once they go out. But the levy we asked for is a little bit larger than what we expect to get, mainly from new construction, but also EAV in general.
Right. But at the end of it, what we receive is no more than what we're entitled to. So it's not like because we don't always necessarily get what we ask for, right?
No,
But
yes,
we get all that we're entitled to. And the reason, because if we ask for less, then we would get potentially less than we're entitled to. Is that right?
We only get what we're entitled to as long as we levy enough for it. There could be a situation where we're entitled to more, but we levied for something less, and we're only entitled in that situation to what we asked for.
Got it.
Under our, based on data I've gotten from the township assessors, it's still preliminary at this point, but we think that the levy is high enough to capture all the anticipated growth but the clerk will make that calculation in March, and we will only get what we're entitled to.
Okay, thank you.
Donna?
I want to echo the thank you for the detail and the clear understanding of what we have in front of us. What I wasn't clear on, and it wasn't because of you, it was just because of my looking at the calendar and understanding. I think the last time I discussed this in open session, I mentioned that I would support this because we'll have the opportunity then to go and change it. And it occurred to me later that if my other colleagues are not in favor of doing any kind of change, it won't come back to us for a vote. It'll ride as it is. Like what we decide today is fine to cover the tax levy unless we decide as a whole group that we want to change it and then bring it back for another vote. Is that correct?
Well, the board would have to vote on a tax levy this evening because we have to file a tax levy
Right.
by next Tuesday.
But I'm saying as far as changing it, there wouldn't necessarily have to be a vote if we're not going to change it. Again, it won't come to us again if there's no change in what we do tonight. Correct?
Let me state it this way. The administration does not have any intention to bring it back as an agenda item if approved this evening as recommended. The board agreements allow a board member to request anything to be put on the agenda. And so I suppose if a board member were to move forward with something tonight and wish to discuss it again, it could be requested to be considered as a board agenda item by board leadership.
But we wouldn't necessarily vote on it if we discussed it on the next, like in February, let's say, correct?
I think, again, that would depend on the board conversation.
Okay.
Yep.
So that being said, I think I said I was going to support this because I was looking forward to bringing it back in February. I'd like to see us look at options on a reduced levy so that, and exercise the recapture legislation that was put in place so that we can reduce the levy and then still recapture that if needed, with the intention that I'm hoping we wouldn't need it. But and I'm not sure that all of my colleagues are feeling that way. So I'm not sure that it'll come back for a vote. So I will not support this, not because I don't believe that we need to capture what's not captured, but because I'm afraid that my conversation won't occur in February. I mean, I won't have the opportunity to be on the record for what I just said. So I'm going to work it through on this one instead. So I'm sorry if I said something at the last time, and now I've realized the calendar is a little bit different than I realized. So again, I'd like to see us look at options and at least pull in before February some options as to a reduced levy and look at the consequences of that and do what we can to exercise the safety net that we have in place due to legislation.
Other comments or questions? Kristen?
It's just a suggestion. I know that as a part of the Citizen Finance Advisory, we talked about the fact that at the current time, you do recommend the abatement of the debt service levy. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
When would we consider that if that were to go forward as you currently are looking at recommending?
We typically bring that to the board at the first meeting in March for adoption, the second meeting in March.
Perhaps we might consider just putting that earlier in the time frame so that then that's considered.
We could do that earlier.
I mean, we might as well consider that at the time period where if we were to take any additional actions, we would be able to take them. And that way, I know that part of doing it later is having more information, and I know that's CPI. Will we have our recommendations for our additional staff that we're going to be recommending at that?
No, I think our staffing projection timeline has March for that discussion. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that we can accelerate that one. I'll just say that. So,
Donna?
I just want to add, since Kristen brought up staff, my reservations on the tax levy. I'm sorry, I swallowed my water wrong. My reservations on the tax levy come from wanting to have a balance between finding a point where we can make sure that we're compensating our staff, as we should be, and also not necessarily taking the full levy and looking at our taxpayers and what they're experiencing in the midst of some tough financial situations for a lot of them. So I feel like at least looking at some options would help me feel better moving forward. And yeah, that's what my thoughts are behind that. Thank you.
Other comments or questions from the board?
Hi.
Oh, Melissa, go ahead.
So I guess my concern regarding the levy, and I just want to make sure I have this right. I know I asked last week, but I just want, so the levy, the projection, the increase does not address any new programs or specific changes. This is to maintain what we're doing now, is that correct?
I think you're thinking or referring to the 5-year financial forecast. When we look at the 5-year financial forecast, that does not forecast changes. That was a separate conversation from the levy. Mike, is that correct? Yep.
I'm sorry. So, okay, so this is, I, as a new board member, trying to do my due diligence, and please appreciate, I'm not feeling well today, so my words can sometimes be jumbled, but I looked back and I noticed in the levy, when was discussed in 2021, that one of the issues that was brought up is substitute pay, and I know that there were some changes made to that. One of the things that I've voiced during our meetings is that, you know, we see the substitute pay, but we still have substitute issues. I'm hearing that from the community. I know even when we did our field trip, there was an issue with a substitute, so it was hard teachers were trying to cover for each other. And I saw that in real time, and so it's something, one of the things I hear is this is what we've done to address it, but we told them when we did the levy that that would be going towards the issue of the substitutes, but yet that issue has not been resolved. And I understand that a lot of times when we were talking about issues with the school districts, these are districts that other school districts have. But when we decide where we're going to invest and we make a commitment, I feel like there has to be specific plans and expectations and outcomes, because if I think our community will pay and has been supportive of great quality education. My concerns are that we're seeing issues with substitute pay, support staff, workload on staff, ability to deliver services. If we're not fully staffed and we don't have staff, substitutes, or we can't keep staff and we're constantly changing, all of this impacts those services. And at the end of the day, really what we're here about is the quality education for the students. So it comes back to are we investing? Can I look the people I represent in the eyes and say, hey, we're doing the money you're spending, we are investing in it. I want to tell them up front, what specifically are we investing it in? How are we going to get there, and how do you hold us accountable to make sure that we're getting the results we're promising before we keep asking for more money? I need to know where the money is going, specifically how it will be spent, and the outcomes, that we will produce are the results for existing problems. And if we can't address those, then that's my fundamental question with this. That should be a consideration. Maybe these conversations shouldn't be taking place, November, and then we're right before Christmas, within a week of Christmas, so a lot of the public may not be involved. This isn't, we've hit Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I would like to see more bench holder involvement, more stakeholders involvement before we get this late in the game, so we can have some of those discussions. Donna had brought up issues each year. I have, and this is really a huge point for our community of what they're going to pay. So I'm not comfortable voting for it if I can't get more specific information about how it's invested and we can't get specific results.
Thanks, Melissa. Other questions or comments? Kristen?
Thank you for your work to put together the presentation on the levy. I think that looking at the proposal, I absolutely do understand that our community, it's challenging to pay your property taxes each year. At the same time, I have always been very appreciative of the fact that our community supports our schools. And when they look at their property taxes, they know that they are getting the high value of an outstanding education for their students. And I think when I look at this levy proposal, I'm looking at the 5-year forecast. And I understand that when you look at even our projections, without even adding anything new, we're already in deficit. And so I believe it is very important that we pass this levy so that we are able to continue to look at our programs like we did last week when we looked at EL and we said our students are not succeeding and we want to do more so that they are able to succeed, that we're able to have the resources to do that. And I know that there's a lot of different things that will go into our budget. Mike, you are outstanding at preparing it. I know that the timing here in terms of the levy and when the budget is created is by law. So I know that we have to pass our tax levy right now, and then we will go forward in producing our budget. But I have confidence based on the proposals that we're seeing as a part of our work here, whether it's the EL, the junior high, whether it's looking at achievement gaps. I know that our staff is working very, very hard to look at how we're doing things so that our students succeed. And I will say, I've been to numerous of our home and school meetings, including our general home and school meeting, where we talked a little bit about this. And I was very happy to see that our representatives from our home and schools, to a fault, continue to support our schools. And they support ensuring that our students and our staff have the resources that they need so that we're able to continue helping each of them succeed. And I think a little bit about some of the things that we've done to add recently, like, for example, the math specialists that we have added so that we were able to recover from the pandemic. We're not done yet. We still need more work in math. We haven't, our scores, while they are on the up, they're not all the way up. And so I want to see us continue to maintain the staff and continue to look at the programming so that we're able to ensure that our students continue to get where they need to go. So I support the levy, and I thank you for preparing it, and I will look forward to seeing the budget with all the work that all of you put together to ensure that we continue to strongly support our students and staff.
May I make a comment?
Just 1 second, Melissa. I just wanted to say something.
Okay, thanks.
I do support this tax levy right now. And Kristen hit a lot of the points. I haven't encountered a time yet where I felt the community is not fully behind us. And we see that through multiple presentations. And through those presentations, we see how we're always trying to do our very best. It's not just, here's a program, put it out there. There's always these refinements that are going on, the evaluations that are going on. And I think that's where I can be in a conversation with a community member and say, this is how we value and treat every dollar. And so it's that type of support from the community, I think, is there because we show them how we're always looking for ways to improve what our students are accomplishing in our classrooms. And we see that then when our kids go out beyond the world of 203 and what they're able, how well they're set up for whatever their choices are next. And so knowing that the bulk of our funding comes from this, that's the reason I support it, and I don't deny at all it's a heavy lift for our community. But I think they show us their support, and at the same time, we show them how every dollar is used as wisely as possible, whether it's paying our staff or implementing new programs or whatever we do. We show them continually how much we value what they trust us with. And again, Mike, thanks to you for all that you do when you prepare all of this paperwork over many months for us. Melissa, did you have an additional comment? Okay. Are there other comments or questions from the board? Okay.
Sorry,
Oh.
I was on mute again. I am not good at this at all. Oh, Christine,
Go ahead.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, we do want to do more. There are areas we need to work on, but what I need to see is, how. I think our community wants to see that. How is it being invested? Not give us the money, we'll decide later. I want the specific plans of what are they putting their money into and what are the outcomes we're promising them. That we're being accountable and that we're in a reasonable time frame. So that's, I'd love to invest and tackle these problems, but I can't do it if these problems persist year after year and they're not, we have to be held accountable at some point. Thank you.
I feel a responsibility to respond to that comment, please. The timeline in terms of the preparation of the budget and all parts of the budget are governed by the Illinois School Code and state law. We meet every one of those objectives. The Board of Education annually reviews and approves a budget over multiple meetings, beginning often in May, to the second meeting in May, to the first meeting in June, to the second meeting in June, where there are 4 public meetings that go into it, as well as advance work beginning actually this evening, when we'll ask you to tell our CFO, CSBO, to begin the work toward preparing the budget. We will follow the timeline that is established in this calendar, as we do annually, and meet every requirement as established by the law, and prepare, publicly post, and share a budget on how the money is spent. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I will take a motion on item 11.02, the 2023 tax levy determination.
Motion to approve item 11.02, 2023 tax levy determination.
Second.
A motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Gerke,
Aye.
Kuzminski,
Aye.
McMillan,
Aye.
Wanke,
Nay.
Kelly Black,
Nay.
Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Cush.
Aye.
The motion passes. Item 11.03, designate individuals to prepare the budget.
As I just referenced, Illinois law requires certain procedures a school board must follow to adopt an annual budget, and that first step is to designate an individual to develop the budget in tentative form, recommending that the Board of Education designate the Chief Financial Officer, Chief School Business Official, Mike Francis, to begin drafting the 2024-2025 budget in its tentative form.
Any questions or comments from the board? Donna?
I just want to say that my vote on the last thing in no way reflects lack of confidence in your ability. Your budgeting is amazing. I feel like we are spec on with what we're doing, and it's tight, and I love it. And I think that the accountability is amazing, like as far as like knowing where things are going and everything. That was not my, I'd just like to see us use a little bit of the reserve for 1 year to eliminate that tax levy. So I just want to make sure that, I want you to know that I have full confidence in what you're doing, and I appreciate you.
Melissa?
I just had a question on, so in the budget, is there a time that we have the community, before it's presented, in the time that we're discussing it? Is there any time we have, besides, I know that there's a financial committee, but is there discussion up to that before it's presented, the board? Is there like, for the stakeholders, is there input before we get to the actual voting on it?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, it is publicly presented at 4 Board of Education meetings, inclusive of the one where we request action, spanning a time of approximately 2 months.
Other questions or comments? Okay, I will take a motion for item 11.03.
I move to approve item 11.03.
Second.
A motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Kelly Black,
Aye.
Cush,
Aye.
Fitzgerald,
Aye.
McMillan,
Aye.
Kuzminski,
Aye.
Wanke,
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye. The motion passes. Item 11.04, commitment 2022 junior high school exploratory.
Yes, at the last Board of Education meeting, administration presented a recommendation regarding changes to exploratory level at the junior high school. Those are recommendations represent shifts in programming to allow for relevant offerings, offer more student choice, and to align to our college and career pathway work at the high school and throughout the district. Recommend that you approve the recommendations as presented. I don't know if Mrs. Willard or Mrs. Boutte has any additional comments. I know you'd be happy to answer questions that the board may have.
Questions or comments from the board? Amanda?
I'm wondering if you could maybe address again what the public comment was earlier about, you know, losing those 1,000 plus minutes of education, consolidating from 2 years to 1 year. And, you know, it's true that the middle school schedule is a little different.
So we are aware of that current discrepancy in minutes. However, the discrepancy is less now that the high school does run different schedules for their homeroom time. They have some of the same field trips, assessments, and course selection offerings that were spoken of that at the high school as we do at the junior high. Some of our students, we are confident that they will be able to handle a one-year rigorous course. We do have students who are taking advanced coursework or high school level courses now and are successful in the 1 year, and they would have the same minutes. Please, I'll also note that these WCL curriculum changes are not occurring until 25-26 school year. And so the curriculum teams from both the high school and the middle school will be being pulled to relook at the curriculum for level 1. There has been a change very recently. ACTFL, which provides the guidelines for major and sub-levels of proficiency, have changed and made updates to their level 1 expectations, which also would be in favor and helpful for the middle school students who would be adjusting, meaning that it'll be a little bit less rigorous how they are now adjusting their levels of proficiency for level 1 coursework. So we still have to make those curriculum changes with the team. That's very recent news. With these changes, we do think that our students would be able to handle the pacing of the 1 year course. That would be helpful. And we are continuing to look at the middle school day and schedule overall and are aware that perhaps not just for WCL, but for other classes, you would hear from math teachers or band, choir, orchestra, that we will have to look at some other shifts potentially by 25-26 as well.
One other thing that I'll add is just like any other curriculum that we write in our district is done with teachers. So we have teachers within the curriculum, they help write the curriculum. This would be no different. So like Mrs. Boutte said, we have an advantage because it's not being implemented next year. Next year, they'll roll the second half of 8th grade because our 7th graders are moving up. We haven't really a year and a half from now before we implement that.
Just one follow-up question to that is, do you anticipate that there would be any reduction in junior high students actually participating in the world languages because it's only now just like one option 1 year? They don't have it multiple years type of thing. How do you think that you anticipate that might impact it?
We actually think it could be the opposite. Currently, if students select in 7th, they are locked in for their 7th and 8th grade year, which this would now allow them to do the course pathway work, which is the other course approvals that are up for your approval tonight. So if anything, we expect maintain or increase the number of students who are wanting to take that because they don't have to choose between pathways or foreign language. They can do both.
Is that something we can maybe track as we start implementing that?
We definitely, every year when we come to staffing and look at FTE, the middle school principals and myself track how many students are currently enrolled. And I have a chart. I could tell you 7th grade Spanish across all 5 schools, 8th grade Spanish, 7th grade French, 8th grade French. And we track that enrollment numbers, and we would continue to do that as we look at FTE and needs. If we need to add FTE to address because more students want to take foreign language in 8th grade, we're willing to do that. We would come to you in March that following year. We're not afraid to ask for what the students need, but this is what we think right now would be okay.
One other thing that I'll add is not all middle schools offer world and classical languages, but a lot of the ones that do offer it in 1 year. So, we started this 20 years ago with the 2-year model, probably a little bit more than that, and things have changed. The landscape of learning have changed. We are a high-performing school district. Our students do very well. So we believe, just like our neighbors in Oswego, that we can get this done successfully in the year. And we will always monitor, of course.
Joe?
And just to kind of make sure I'm understanding correctly, the level 1 is changing in the high school as well, level 1 Spanish.
We'll have to do some curriculum development, yes,
And-
absolutely.
And it will still map accordingly to
Yeah.
the 8th grade, and so level 2, I would assume, would have to change, and you'd have to kind of look at that whole.
We'll look at the whole
track.
trajectory. When we say change, it's not going to be massive changes. So I don't want to especially any teachers out there going, "Oh my gosh, my curriculum's going to completely change," because it's not. But since ACTFL did come out with some new guidelines, we're going to have to look. And our world and classical languages teachers are great. They're always in curriculum review and looking at their curriculum. So this will be no different.
But you don't anticipate the 8th graders being behind going
We
into level
don't.
2?
Yes, that's why we're recommending it.
Did you have a question, Donna?
No, I just had a comment. I appreciate all the work that you've done on this. I know from just a large number of students that I interact with, when they were making that choice, a lot of them wanted to be able to do the Project Lead the Way and the math science piece of that, and felt very torn to have to make those decisions. And so I feel like you're right. I feel like we're going to see more students taking language in junior high because they'll be able to do both instead of having to do a or piece. And so I'm excited that you're monitoring to make sure that the levels are obtained that they need to be so that the students are on track. But I appreciate thinking outside the box. And I know we've talked about some changes at the junior high for, 10 years since that. So I'm excited to see that we're moving forward and trying some things and still monitoring. So thank you.
Charles?
So I just wanted to echo the comment around the amount of effort, energy, and rigor that's been put into this. And remind me if I imagined this from our last conversation 2 weeks ago, but I thought that having it concentrated into 1 year, we thought that that would have the impact of helping the kids be a little bit more prepared so there wouldn't be the loss between the 2 years. And so then having it more concentrated actually prepare them better for being able to be, when they transition into high school, if they choose
Sure,
to pursue
that is kind of one of the strategies. The other thing is we also do continually, you've board approved our summer bridge course that a lot of our kids don't take advantage of, but we do have that safeguard there that is, it's like just a general credit. They're not getting a world and classical language credit. They are getting high school, just general elective credit, but we will continue, of course, to have those in place if needed.
Thank you.
Kristen?
Thank you again for the presentation and all the work that you all are doing. I would just say I appreciate your effort to talk about the curriculum process in terms of really utilizing the expertise of our teachers I know who are here to be sure that their voices are heard in that process. A couple of things that I wanted to follow up on. I did also talk about this with our home and school who were very positive about the idea of, in fact, one of the people actually said, can the people who already chose go back and re-choose when they get to 8th grade? And so we talked about that it's not getting implemented right away. So I do think that that's possible. But I wondered about the question of the wheel, including a language component, in 6th grade. Because in 6th grade, we do all those other portions, but we don't do language. And I wondered about that. Was that considered, and could it still be considered?
Absolutely. We actually talked to Tim about that today when we met with him. Absolutely. All of those can be considered, and additions to the wheel can be considered. We also have to think about space.
I know.
We have to think about the other things. But yes, when we think about other things that we would add that, some other districts do have like an explore, well, I don't want to say exploratory because now it's a pun, but they explore different types of languages. So absolutely, and we have the staff to do that. One thing that I want to make it very clear to public and everyone, we have no desire to get rid of world and classical languages at the junior high. We absolutely want to maintain. What we want to do is add more choice for kids. And so that they're not always grappling with the question, why did I do one over the other? But really, this is going to enhance their experiences. So what you just said is absolutely things that are on the table. We're thinking about other things that we might bring forward with maybe a different school day.
I think that would be great to give them a flavor of that, like you do with all the other choices.
Sure.
And then they're able to make a more educated choice. I also, I know that the state has legislation out there about like how much is a requirement for foreign language. I would also be intrigued by getting the high school credit for it in the 8th grade, just because if it's going to mimic that high school course, it seems like that would also be a draw for students to, be able to get that high school credit for that in the 8th grade when they do that.
And our world and classical teachers have the endorsement for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Donna?
Sorry, now I have the wheels are spinning. So is that something that we're considering? Like where are we at on that? I know
So
that's a
we've
different
had conversation about
Okay.
that as something to consider, but we're not prepared to discuss that or recommend that now. Also, the implications go beyond just world and classical languages, as there are other courses that are high school level courses that some of our junior high school students take that they also don't receive credit for. So we'll have to look at that more comprehensively before we have a recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just grateful that the kids are going to have more choices. I think the word says it, the exploratory. Especially at that age, let them try different things, and as we all know, one year they love it, the next year they don't want anything to do with it. And this is, it's just an opportunity for them to try more things before they get to high school, maybe figure out what they like, more importantly, figure out what they don't like, and they can spend their time as wisely as they possibly can in a course. So, and again, thanks for the refinements and the reviews and constantly thinking of how we can better serve our students. I will take a motion for, Melissa, did you have a?
Sorry, it's really hard without seeing. Yeah, I was going back. I guess that I did hear that there seemed like there were significant concerns and legitimate concerns brought up by some of the speakers. I know that this isn't, we have a couple issues here, but one of the things that also concerns me is that we're talking about, I think from our previous meeting, we brought up that French would be one of the offerings and that actually enrollment is down in French. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
Yep.
That is correct.
I don't think we talked about that, but the enrollment is lower especially in some schools where we don't have a full section, but we're still offering it.
I guess my concern with this is we talk about student mental health, we talk about, our staff putting more on their plate, we talk about trying to juggle all this and get to what's the core of what's most important. And I would like to see us maybe step back, gather some information so we can address this. Some of those concerns that were brought up, I know that there's been discussions that most of our students now, it's not the traditional, they're going to go to college pathway. So really in today's day and age, learning the other languages, a lot of that is so because it's a requirement for some colleges. So I guess it's also having that discussion about, I like what Christine said about, this is a time for our kids to explore different things. I like when I went in those classrooms and I saw what they were doing with the career and technical education, and that floats into a lot of those exploratories. I'm not sure I want to put more pressure, do a condensed language program, put more on everyone's plate, without really thinking this out and having the benefits really outweigh the cons. I'd like to see it brought up for some more discussion so we can clarify some of these questions. Thank you.
Charles? Oh, okay, go ahead. That's fine. Okay, I will take a motion then for item 11.04.
Yeah, I move approval of item 11.04, 1.2 junior high school exploratory as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Warnke.
Aye.
Kelly Black.
Nay.
Kuzminski.
Aye.
McMillan.
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye.
Kush.
Aye.
The motion passes. Item 11.05, commitment 1.4, the EL program services.
At the December 4th Board of Education meeting, administration presented a recommendation to the board to expand EL program to all 612 schools. I don't have anything new. Lisa, do you have anything new to add? We recommend you approve it as presented. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments from the board? Charles? Okay. Go ahead, Charles.
I wanted to kind of reiterate some of my comments from last time that, I really appreciate the effort and energy you guys put into identifying and understanding that this was a challenge and then coming up with a really good and creative solution to help move us forward and to service the needs of this particular segment of the community. So thank you guys for your continued innovation and your continued thoughtfulness in identifying issues and then coming up with solutions. So thank you.
Melissa?
Yeah. So as far as the EL programs, I know that we've received some feedback about how that factors into the dual language program. So I had a couple of questions with that. So if I read some of the information we were provided, is it accurate that somebody did ask about the resources in the program? Is it accurate that I heard a response from administration saying that there was no overlap in resources or programs? Is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't understand your question.
Okay, so some of the parents, number one, I want to commend you because definitely the feedback and what everyone has said is that having the children, the EL children, go to their home schools will increase the enrollment and doesn't place pressure on them. So that I think I like that response to that issue. But what was brought up is that the dual language program, that those students still have to go to a specific school. So the question is, as we make a decision about the English learning children, if there's any overlap in resources or concepts or issues, that it seems like this might be an appropriate time to address the same concerns families in the dual language programs have about their students having to go to a particular school and not their home school.
Yeah, sure. So students in our elementary dual language program also attend a specific school if they're interested in that program. And so it is a specialized program, just like PI Plus, just like elementary dual language. It also exists at the junior high level. So at this time, dual language will continue to be a program that is only available at Jefferson. There is some overlap, to your point, that there are some students who receive EL services and choose to participate in the dual language program, but there are students who also receive those services and don't participate in dual language. And so families will still have an option of choosing dual language if they've been part of that program up until 5th grade, but they would attend Jefferson.
Okay, because I heard prior to even this issue coming up that just, being out in the community, dual language parents have had concerns about the program. So I guess if they share resources, and why not address them at the same time? Because I don't want those dual language parents to feel like they're being left out, and it almost seems as if the English learners, if our goal is to make them be able to go to their home schools, is there a way we can find a way for dual language, to promote that and be able to have kids benefit from that program and also go to their home school?
Yeah, there's also, we track that enrollment piece. So we need a certain number of students to be enrolled in that program to run it. And so really from a sustainability feasibility lens, it would be difficult to replicate that program from staffing, from student enrollment, et cetera, across schools. So at this point, I'm not saying never, but at this point, the focus of our presentation and recommendation is specific to students who are eligible for EL services and was not to address dual language at this time.
Okay, so I just wonder if the dual language, the people going into the program, that it might be, from what I'm hearing, it might be the same thing as what's prohibiting the other people from being involved in the English learners. Is it possible that we could get some kind of looking into this? People, community members are expressing this. I don't know if other board members have heard this. If there's a way to look into, our dual language program.
Yeah, there's separate programs. I just want to be clear that English Learner Services is a separate service than the dual language program. So I would really defer to Superintendent Bridges about that.
Yeah, at this time, I would encourage these community members that you're speaking to put them in contact with their building principal at the dual language school to better understand the services that are provided and available. And if there is a question regarding the services and resources that are being made available, to be in contact with Dr. Marion Friebus-Flamen, our Director of Language Acquisition, to address those specific concerns, and then we can make some decisions in the future. We're not making a recommendation for the expansion of dual language at this time, nor do we think we have the student enrollment, especially in the native language, to justify that at all 14 elementary schools or all 5 junior high schools. But it is, we're always considering and looking at options for program improvement.
Okay, yeah, I just want to reiterate, when people do in the community say something, I do follow the protocol. I don't go with one person. You do the chain of command. This is just like hearing it over and over again. And as a board member, that's part of our job, is to get out there and listen and, look at the program. Thank you.
Kristen?
I just want to reiterate again how excited I was to see this proposal. And again, I continue to hear a lot of positive feedback in terms of even parents who don't have students in the program understand the changes and are very supportive and appreciative of the fact that we are looking at belonging so seriously and looking at ensuring that our students do not refuse the services and take the services and continue through the program. I did want to ask a question about kind of the future that you see in terms of gaining all of the teachers with the EL endorsement and how you're working to help support individuals within our staff that might be interested in it. So can you just kind of outline that?
Yeah. So we do have one partnership already established to offer courses towards an EL endorsement, and the fees towards those courses are reduced the more staff we have enrolled in the program. We actually had a few other districts contact to see if they could also partner, which would reduce the cost even more if we increase that enrollment and offer to neighboring districts. So we started exploring that actually today. We also have formed partnerships with additional universities and are talking with them. We were recently told that some universities are actually starting to offer accelerated programs as well, so it's a shorter amount of time and therefore less cost to receive that endorsement. We obviously want to make sure it still provides educators with the knowledge they need, but it's something that we're definitely exploring. We also are we have a pretty established professional learning plan that we're going to roll out that offers a lot of knowledge to staff who participate in that would benefit them even if they don't pursue the EL endorsement.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I had heard a little bit of concerns about like the financial burden, like people really wanting to do it, but just that they aren't able to don't have the resources at that time. But I'm excited to hear about the partnerships that you're looking at, and I know that you're taking a break from the program right this second, but like just really upping the marketing so that everybody knows like the more people that get in, the cheaper it will be. That's super awesome, and I think going with other school districts is another huge way that we're able to make that cost lower, and I'm grateful that you're looking at that. So
yeah, I'll put a plug in for anyone that's listening because we did pause it for this semester so that we could increase enrollment, because once this, should this pass and information get out, there might be more educators who are also interested.
Wonderful, thank you.
Other questions or comments? Thanks again for making these changes. There's no point in offering services if people are going to decline them. And this was just a huge barrier or just a huge step in removing what seems like a simple barrier to, I don't want to say any barrier is simple, but hopefully this will get the students the services they need and they'll feel more like part of the community along with their families at home. So thank you once again for that. Oh, Donna.
I just want to add that I love how data-driven this decision is. Thank you.
I will entertain a motion for item 11.05.
I'll move to approve item 11.05.
Second.
A motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Kelly Black?
Nay.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Nay.
Nay.
Wanke?
Aye.
Gerke?
Aye.
Kush?
Aye.
McMillan?
Aye.
Kosminski?
Aye.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
The motion passes. Item 11.06, Policy 7270, Administering Medicines to Children.
Policy 7270 was recommended to the Board of Education, the December 4th Board of Education meeting. We recommend action and approval by the board this evening. We have no changes. There was a question that was asked at the previous board meeting regarding the removal of a cross-reference. That was a purposeful recommendation by our legal counsel to ensure that we don't inadvertently become liable for something that may be allowed under the school code, but that isn't captured in our policy. So we're comfortable with the policy. Legal counsel on behalf of the board has reviewed the policy and is comfortable with it and recommends your approval.
Questions or comments from the board? Donna?
The only thing I was concerned about is the language about obtaining a prescription. Are we having any difficulty obtaining prescription for these items?
Hello,
I know we
Lisa.
were at one point, but are we now?
We did have difficulty at one point, but now we formed a partnership and we're able to obtain everything. So we actually have everything on site.
At all of our schools?
The opioid antagonists are actually in this building until they're approved, because they're not approved by the board, but the other medications were previously approved by the board, and so they are on site at every building.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments from the board? Okay, I will take a motion for item 11.06.
So moved.
I have a question, I'm sorry, Commissioner DeWork.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Just to reiterate that they'll only be available during school hours.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take a motion for item 11.06.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Kelly Black?
Aye.
Wanke?
Aye.
Gerke?
Aye.
McMillan?
Aye.
Kosminski?
Aye.
Kush?
Aye.
The motion passes. Oh, Donna.
I'm sorry, to go back to that, just because I want to understand. So it's only available during school hours because that's when we have the personnel trained to be able to administer it, correct?
That's correct.
So at our high schools, we have athletic training staff. Are they going to have those medications to be able to administer them as well?
They do not currently have access to those medications to administer them. They might have access to other medications or, for example, 911 and
Right.
calling for backup, but they don't have access to the medications that are housed in that nurse's office.
Okay. No, I mean, can we get them trained so that they have, I'm just at the two high schools, so that they have access to the medications in their own office, like under lock and key in their own office?
That is something I can explore for sure.
Okay, great, thank you.
Item 11.07, the Facility Capital Improvement Plan.
Okay, on December 4th, Melanie Brown, Director of Buildings and Grounds, presented a recommendation to the board for the fiscal year 2024-2025 capital improvement plan. In the presentation, she also provided a quick overview of projects completed this year and a preview of work that may be requested in the future. Recommend you approve it as presented. Melanie, do you have any new information? Okay, I'll let Melanie go ahead and speak.
Good evening. At the last meeting, I did note that we had some pending bids, and you did approve 2 bids tonight. One was for the Madison roof replacement Phase 2, which is in the 2024-2025 capital improvement plan. And as I noted, it was lower than we had expected. We had originally planned for it to be about $2.9 million, and it ended up being 2.1. So our original ask was about $6.5 million for fiscal year 2025. And with that new bid amount, having it be more firm, it is now, we're looking at now 5.7 as the estimate for fiscal year 25. I did not add any additional projects because we do still have 4 that are not quite solidified yet, so we wanted to make sure that we reserve some of that space just in case of an estimation on the wrong side.
Thanks for that wonderful information. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, I will take a motion for item 11.07.
Move to approve item 11.07.
Second.
A motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Cush.
Aye.
Kelly Black.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Wanke.
Aye.
Kuzminski.
Aye.
McMillan.
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye. The motion passes. Kristen?
Just a really quick reminder, just for the community, since we didn't discuss it, that this was only for the 1 year that we just approved, and that we are still working on the reserve projects, as Mike mentioned earlier.
Item 11.08, consideration of Board of Education expenses.
Board of Education Policy 2:125 requires all board member expenses for travel, meals, and lodging to be approved by roll call vote at an open meeting of the Board of Education. A number of expenses related to the joint annual conference held in November are attached for the board's action, in addition to Board Member Appreciation Day and board self-evaluation.
Questions or comments from the board?
Just,
Oh.
I forgot to
Donna.
submit my expenses, so they're still coming, sorry.
Amanda?
I know we talked about this before, but I just wanted to say thank you again for this opportunity to be able to attend this conference in November every year. It's really, really valuable for professional development, and also just appreciated having the opportunity to have dinner together as a board, because, you know, getting to know each other on more personal level is helpful as we're working together as a team. So thank you.
I'll take a motion for item 11.08.
Motion to approve.
A motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Kuzminski.
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye.
Kelly Black.
Aye.
Cush.
Aye.
McMillan.
Aye.
Wanke.
Aye.
The motion passes. Item 11.09, the consideration of Board of Education meeting calendar.
At the May 15th, 2023 Board of Education meeting, the board approved its calendar of meeting dates for the 2023-2024 school year. Included in that action was approval of a work session on January 9th, 2024. Typically at our work session, there's very limited, if any, business conducted or approved on by the Board of Education. Deliberately, due to coming off of the winter vacation in time when members of administration are encouraged to take time away, there's nothing really on the agenda at this time. The administration has nothing it needs to bring to the board, and on that date, I recommend the board consider canceling that meeting and continuing forward with its action at the business meeting on January 22nd.
Questions or comments from the board? Amanda?
I just want to say that I think that our administration works incredibly hard, and they shouldn't have to work before coming back from their break. So I definitely think this is a good move.
Melissa, did you have a question?
Yeah, it's hard over the phone, so thank you for your patience. Just to get correct, you want to change the calendar, get rid of the January 9th meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Other questions or comments? Okay, I will take a motion for item 11.09.
I move approval of item 11.09 as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Warnke.
Aye.
McMillan.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Kosminski.
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye.
Kush.
Aye.
Kelly Black.
Aye.
The motion passes. Item 12, old business. We do not have any old business. Item 13, new business. We do not have any new business. Item 14, upcoming events, the schedule of events.
Sure, I want to wish our high school students luck as they prepare for finals later this week. And remind the community of winter break coming up December 25 through 30 and January 1 through 8. School resuming on Tuesday, January 9th. This will be updated to reflect the cancellation of the January 9th meeting. And when I say administration, I also want to make sure that it is clearly noted that that includes all support staff and all other staff that work to support the administration in the preparation for this meeting, knowing that they'll have an opportunity to have some time away also is appreciated.
Item 1501, motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second have been heard. Please call the roll, Mrs. Patton.
Kush.
Yes.
McMillan.
Aye.
Kelly Black.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Kosminski.
Aye.
Gerke.
Aye.
Warnke.
Aye.
The motion passes. We are adjourned. Enjoy winter break, everyone.
Good night, Melissa. Feel better.